Welcome back, everybody. We're diving deep today into the world of Robert Kiyosaki and his really unique approach to financial freedom.
Yeah.
You guys shared some fantastic material about both his life and his work, including some excerpts from Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is, his really famous book. So instead of just like giving a basic summary of the book, we really want to extract those golden nuggets that can make a difference in your own financial journey.
Well, and it's interesting how his background really sets the stage for his entire philosophy. Growing up in Hawaii, he saw this really stark contrast between two father figures. His own father, highly educated, but always seemed to be struggling financially. And then his best friend's dad, a successful entrepreneur who just thought about money in a completely different way.
Right. The famous Rich Dad and Poor Dad. And it's
Yeah,
not about, judging their parenting or anything like that, but it's about those two vastly different mindsets that can really shape how we relate to money.
exactly. And Kiyosaki really argues that traditional education often misses this key ingredient, which is practical financial literacy. His rich dad emphasized understanding how money actually works, the power of building assets, making your money work for you, not the other way around.
Makes you wonder how many of us are out there with degrees, but we feel completely lost when it comes to managing our own finances. It's like we are taught to earn, but not how to manage what we earn.
And that's the gap that Kiyosaki is trying to bridge, right? And what's often overlooked is that he didn't just magically become this, financial guru. I mean, he had his own share of early setbacks, like that nylon wallet business that landed him in debt.
Oh, yes, the one that really forced him to grapple with the real world of finance. Not exactly the glamorous entrepreneur success story you might expect, right?
Right.
Almost like he paid this hefty tuition fee for a real-world MBA in those early days.
I think that's a great analogy. He doesn't shy away from those failures at all. In fact, he reframes them as these crucial learning experiences. That eventually helped him refine his entire approach.
So instead of letting those setbacks define him, he turned them into fuel for a much greater understanding. And this leads perfectly into one of his most famous concepts, the distinction between assets and liabilities.
This is where things start to get really practical, and where he really challenges some of that conventional thinking. He wants us to shift our focus from acquiring liabilities, things that drain our resources, to building assets. Assets that generate income, put money back in our pockets.
Okay, so let's break that down a little bit further for our listeners. A common example is a fancy car. You might think you own it, but it's actually costing you money. Depreciation, insurance, repairs, all of that.
Exactly. That car is a liability in his framework. Now compare that to, say, a rental property. If it's well managed, it generates income, it appreciates in value over time, and even provides some tax benefits. That's a classic example of an asset that's working for you.
So instead of chasing the shiny objects that just drain our accounts, the focus shifts to building that portfolio, a portfolio of those income-generating assets, essentially flipping the script on how money flows in our lives.
Precisely. But it's not just about the mechanics of money, it's also about the psychology. Kiyosaki believes that our mindset plays a huge role in our financial success. He argues that we need to break free from what he calls the scarcity mindset that holds us back.
The scarcity mindset, that feeling that there's never enough, that money is a limited resource, it really makes you think about all those messages we internalized growing up, like money doesn't grow on trees or we can't afford that.
Exactly, all of those things.
Yeah.
Kiyosaki challenges us to replace those beliefs with what he calls an abundance perspective, recognizing that there are actually limitless opportunities to create wealth if we change our thinking and our actions.
I'm curious, what kind of actions does he suggest to start shifting that mindset? Is it just about positive affirmations or is there something more to it?
Oh, there's definitely more to it. It goes beyond just the affirmations. Kiyosaki believes that taking action, even small steps, is crucial for cultivating that abundance mindset. It's about becoming really proactive with your finances. Educating yourself, exploring new opportunities, not being afraid to step outside of that comfort zone.
Makes sense. It's like that saying, you can't scare a parked car, right? If we want to change our financial trajectory, got to get things moving.
Exactly. And Kiyosaki even suggests that our career choices should be viewed through this lens. He encourages us to think about, working to learn, not just working to earn.
That's a really interesting distinction. So not just chasing the highest paying job, but looking for opportunities that will equip us with valuable skills and knowledge that we can leverage down the road.
Precisely. Imagine taking a job that maybe isn't your dream role right now, but it exposes you to, say, the inner workings of real estate investing or the ins and outs of starting a business. Those experiences become invaluable assets on your journey toward financial freedom.
It's almost like investing in your own financial education through practical experience. I can see how that long-term perspective can be really powerful. Kiyosaki himself seems to embody that approach. I mean, think about how he self-published Rich Dad Poor Dad and built an empire from it.
That's a prime example of how he walked the walk. He didn't wait for a traditional publisher, took control of his own destiny, created his own success, and that ties into another one of his key themes, the power of leverage.
Leverage in this context, meaning
Kiyosaki is adamant about not trying to do everything ourselves. He emphasizes the importance of building a strong team, leveraging the expertise of others.
so it's not about being a lone wolf in the financial world, right? It's about recognizing that we can achieve more, move faster, by collaborating with people who have specific skills and knowledge that complement our own. It's like the
Well,
old saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
exactly. And he applies this to personal finance as well. He's a big proponent of seeking out mentors, financial advisors, even partners who can help you achieve those goals faster and avoid some of those, costly mistakes along the way. He recognizes the value of tapping into that kind of collective wisdom.
This really resonates with me, especially in today's world, where information is so readily available, but it can be overwhelming to know where to start. Having those trusted guides can make all the difference.
Absolutely. And Kiyosaki himself is a strong advocate for financial education. Beyond what we typically learn in schools, he argues that traditional education often falls short in preparing us for the real-world complexities of money management.
It's true. I mean, how many of us actually learned about budgeting, investing, or understanding debt in a practical way during our school years? It often feels like those crucial life skills were just left out of the curriculum.
Right. And that's why he stresses the importance of self-education. He encourages people to be proactive learners, to seek out information and resources independently.
So it's about taking ownership of our own financial literacy, not waiting for someone else to teach us. It's empowering to think that we actually have the agency to fill those gaps ourselves.
Exactly. And thankfully, there are so many resources available today. Books, podcasts, online courses, financial advisors, even communities of like-minded individuals sharing their knowledge and experiences.
It's about finding what works for you
Mm-hmm.
and committing to that continuous learning, almost like building a financial muscle that gets stronger the more you use it.
That's a great way to put it. And that brings us back to the importance of mindset. Kiyosaki emphasizes that our beliefs about money can either propel us forward or hold us back.
He talks about breaking free from those limiting beliefs, right? The ones we might have inherited from our upbringing, or from societal messages that tell us we're not meant to be wealthy, or that money is somehow, like, evil.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
about cultivating that mindset of abundance, believing that there are opportunities out there for everyone, and that wealth can actually be a force for good in the world.
I think that's a really important point to emphasize. Sometimes the conversation around money can feel very, like, me-focused, but Kiyosaki seems to be suggesting that financial freedom can also empower us to make a bigger impact on the world around us.
Absolutely. And this connects back to his idea of financial freedom being about choices. When we're not constantly stressed about money, we have more capacity to contribute to our communities, pursue our passions, make a difference in the lives of others.
It's almost like financial freedom becomes a springboard for a greater purpose and meaning in life. But even with all of these empowering concepts, there are critics of Kiyosaki's work. Some argue that his approach is, too simplistic, or that his investment strategies can be risky.
That's fair to acknowledge. I mean, his approach may not resonate with everyone, and his investment strategies, particularly in areas like real estate, definitely involve inherent risks. It's crucial for individuals to do their own research, assess their own risk tolerance, and seek professional advice when needed.
So it's not about blindly following Kiyosaki's advice, but about taking what's valuable and adapting it to your own individual circumstances and goals.
Yeah, and even his critics acknowledge that he has sparked this vital conversation about financial literacy and challenged conventional thinking about money. He's encouraged people to question the status quo and to take control of their own financial futures.
That's a powerful legacy in itself. But even with the right mindset and knowledge, taking action can still feel daunting. Where do we even begin to put all of this into practice?
Yeah, it can feel overwhelming, all this talk about financial freedom and assets and mindset shifts. And
Right. But I think Kiyosaki gives us some pretty practical starting points.
he does. Remember that exercise we mentioned earlier about distinguishing assets from liabilities? That's a fantastic first step.
You mean taking stock of our current financial situation? What's bringing money in versus what's draining it out? I can see how that simple act of categorization can be really eye-opening.
It highlights where we might be overspending or where we've unknowingly accumulated liabilities that are holding us back. And once you have that clear picture, you can start setting goals and creating a plan.
Okay, so what kind of goals are we talking about here? Is it about aiming for a specific net worth or more about achieving a certain lifestyle?
It can be both, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Kiyosaki stresses having a clear vision for your ideal financial future. Like, what does financial freedom really mean to you?
Mm-hmm.
Is it about traveling the world, starting your own business, having more time for loved ones? Or maybe it's a combination of all of those things.
So it's about painting that picture of the life you want, not just in broad strokes, but with like vivid details, and then breaking that big vision down into smaller, more achievable goals.
Exactly. And Kiyosaki reminds us that even small, consistent actions can create this ripple effect over time. He uses the analogy of a ship. Even slight adjustments to the rudder can change its course dramatically over a long journey.
It's that slow and steady wins the race. Philosophy applied to personal finance. I like that. Takes the pressure off of needing to make massive overnight changes.
Right, exactly. And one small but significant step he advocates for is the habit of paying yourself first.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that before. So instead of waiting to see what's left over at the end of the month, we prioritize setting aside a portion of our income for savings and investments right from the start.
Exactly. You got it.
It's almost like making a commitment to our future selves.
Yes, and make it automatic if you can. Set up a system where a certain percentage of your income goes directly into a savings account or an investment account. That way, you're less tempted to spend it.
Out of sight, out of mind, right?
Exactly.
Takes the emotion out of it and turns saving into a regular habit.
Now, when it comes to investing, Kiyosaki is a big advocate for diversification. He believes in spreading your investments across different asset classes to minimize risk.
So not putting all our eggs in one basket makes sense. So we could explore real estate, stocks, bonds, maybe even look into precious metals.
Right, each asset class has its own risk profile and potential for returns. By diversifying, you're essentially creating a safety net for your investments.
And Kiyosaki also reminds us to think beyond that traditional job model, right? He sees entrepreneurship as a powerful path towards financial freedom.
He does. If you have a passion or a skill that you could turn into a side hustle or even a full-fledged business, it's an avenue worth exploring. It's about taking control of your earning potential and creating your own opportunities rather than waiting for them to come to you.
I see how that aligns with his overall philosophy of taking action and being proactive. But even with the best intentions, sometimes fear can hold us back, especially when it comes to like starting a business or making big financial decisions.
Kiyosaki would say that fear is a natural part of the process, but it shouldn't paralyze us. He encourages us to see challenges as opportunities for growth and to reframe failure as a valuable learning experience.
It's about shifting our perspective, seeing obstacles not as roadblocks, but as stepping stones on that path towards financial freedom.
Exactly, and that brings us back to the importance of continuous learning. Kiyosaki emphasizes that financial literacy is an ongoing journey.
So it's about being curious, seeking out information, and constantly expanding our understanding of personal finance, investing, and wealth building. And we shouldn't be afraid to ask questions or seek out mentors or even join communities where we can learn from others who are further along in their journey.
I love that. Surround yourself with people who inspire you and challenge you to grow. And remember, financial freedom's not a solo sport. It's a team effort, and there are so many resources and support systems available to help you succeed.
And as we wrap up this deep dive into Robert Kiyosaki's financial wisdom, I'm left with this sense of possibility. It's inspiring to know that we have more control over our financial futures than we might realize. It's about taking ownership, taking action, and embracing the journey.
Beautifully said. And while Kiyosaki's approach may not be for everyone, his core message is universally relevant. Financial literacy is an essential life skill, and building wealth is about more than just earning a big paycheck. It's about understanding the game of money and making conscious choices to create the life you want.
So, to our listeners, we leave you with this. What is one action, no matter how small, that you can take this week to move closer to your own vision of financial freedom? Start that budget, pick up that book, have that conversation with a financial advisor. The journey begins with a single step.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it insightful and empowering.